If you can't manage this one key metric, you could lose your property portfolio. Investing in property is just like a business. If you don't have clear visuals on your key metrics, then you're going to get into trouble. And today, I want to focus on one of the key metrics, cash flow. So first of all, what is cash flow? Well, cash flow in this situation, we're talking about the net cash flow, is the net amount that you are receiving on a monthly and yearly basis coming into your bank that your asset, in this case your property, is paying out to you. Why is cash flow important? Well, fairly obvious, I would say, but ultimately having an asset is really important to your long-term wealth, and cash flow ultimately is about facilitating that wealth and protecting that wealth and making sure it's an asset that's paying dividends over time. So you could be a multi-millionaire if it's not paying out on a monthly basis or giving a dividend to you, then you're not going to be able to sustain yourself. Now, a lot of people want to live off of the cash flow of the property as well. Is that possible? Yes, 100% it is possible. Most of your financial wealth, i.e. your combined returns, are more on the capital growth side of things, but it is going to look after you on a day-by-day basis. People quit their jobs on it, and that does take time. That's why it's important, and that's why you need to manage it effectively. So in order to manage your cash flow, you need to know the key things that are actually impacting the net return of the property. So number one is obviously how much rent you're getting for the property. And this is really about what quality you want to do the property up to when you are purchasing it through the refurbishment. So you really have to find this sweet spot. So you don't want to be putting marble worktops, oak floors in your bread and butter, boring, vanilla buy-to-let opportunity. But you do want to do it at a high enough spec to attract the right tenant. So it's not actually directly about the rental amount. It's going to impact another key metric, also the void period. Think about it this way. If you have got a high quality tenant and the average rent in the area is 700, you might get 750, maybe even 800 in the hot market that we're seeing today in rentals. But that extra 50 to 100 isn't just the one benefit. That's benefit number one. Benefit number two is lower void periods. By producing a great property, you're making a house somebody else's home. And by having it as a slightly higher spec than the market, you're attracting, hopefully, better quality tenants, or definitely a larger pool of high quality tenants that we can sort out and facilitate. Once they're in, people make the house their home and they stay there for a longer period of time. Impacting number three that's going to impact this metric is void periods. Now, with a boring vanilla buy-to-let strategy, void periods will be incredibly low anyway compared to other investment strategies. However, by putting in that extra effort into the refurbishment, you're going to attract somebody that's going to stay there over a longer period of time. And from the portfolio that we've built up over the years, we've noticed they take better care of it. Kind of like if you're around the room, you know, if there's dirty washing on the floor and it's late at night, you're more likely to take your top off and chuck it on the floor as well, right? Whereas if it's a really tidy environment, you tend to make more effort keeping the environment tidy. That's the same for everyone. It's natural human behavior. So if you provide a really nice home for somebody, then they will take care of it as their home. It's really important now. We've had it before where people think, yeah, just spend £500 clearing it out, wash the carpets and all of that. It's like, yes, you want to save money there, but remember, price is what you pay, value is what you get. And if you don't pay today, you're going to pay more later. I can promise you. The next thing is management of the property. Now, there's two ways of looking at this. You could go down the self-management route, and if you've got the time and it's local, you've got the experience, I think that can be a really cool way to save money. But ultimately, it's really dependent on who you want to be. Are you a landlord or are you wanting to be an investor? And for me, I want to be an investor. Something for me that's really important is I want to make my money through an active income stream, which I do through my education company, through my property business, Aspire Property Group, my sourcing business. And then I want to put that money into investments that are passive. And that's why I really like like the boring vanilla buy-to-let properties because it's getting me my passive income. A huge mistake that I see with a lot of people is investing in these complex strategies, if you like, or in this case, self-managing the properties, acting like the extra 50 quid their savings worthwhile. For me, get a great management team in place and they will look after your property to a much higher degree than you can, and that over the long term will increase your net cash income. And finally, a lot of people talk about making more money, but actually I like focusing on keeping more money in my pocket. So a key part of this is tax. I know tax can be so boring, but actually the more you learn about tax, the more you can understand it, and the more you understand it, more loopholes you can find. Think of it this way. When you get to a certain point, every pound you earn is really about 50 pence once all of the tax is done. However, with tax, every pound that you save is a pound in your pocket. There is a certain level of business and a certain level when you're a portfolio builder that actually the savings on tax is the number one thing that you need to be looking at. So it's great talking about all these ways to find great tenants, find the great properties, etc. But how do you even know it's in the best area in the first place? Well, this is what you need to focus on. Yes, there's a lot of qualitative data that you need to look at. Look at the numbers, of course. So you want to look at employment rate in the area, crime rates in the area, and I'll do a video. In fact, I've done a video on that. We can put a link in the description of what you should be looking at with the social demographics as well. However, there's also qualitative data that we need to look at, which is outside of the facts and figures. Number one, making sure there's a good school in the area. Now, it doesn't need to be Ofsted rated excellent, but a good school. And you can look at the Ofsted ratings. I think it's actually ofsted.co.uk, and you can look at the Ofsted ratings in your area. Make sure it's got a decent supermarket local. So Aldi, Lidl, Sainsbury's, Asda, anything ideally within a 10-minute walking distance would be perfect, but certainly a 5 to 10 minute drive. Transport links, decent logistics in the area, and make sure it's got development. So a great area for this that I mentioned quite a lot of is Stainforth in Doncaster. If you're in Donny, you might go, Stainforth's a really rough area, that's a rubbish area, wouldn't buy there. However, if you look online and look at the hundreds of millions that's getting invested there in 10 years, that is going to be a dramatically different area that you would have wanted to get into today. So now you know what to look out for and how to actually find these opportunities. How do you measure it? And this is where software comes into a key force here, is understanding your numbers up front. The problem is there's a lot of different figures that you need to understand. Your ROI, your long-term cap rate, your capital growth, and the impact of that, so you can get an overall idea of your combined returns, taking account of your inflation rate, your interest rate, and everything else in once. So there's two options here. You can either create your own spreadsheet and do that, which you can definitely do, by the way, or pay somebody to do it, or you can use a software like Lendlord. Lendlord is today's video sponsor, by the way, so thank you for backing this video and helping enhance the channel. And if you're watching and you want access to Lendlord completely free, by the way, they don't try and sell you anything, then you can click the link in the description. There's calculators, you can monitor your portfolio, understand how to actually get a cash positive property, and so much more. And the way they make money, by the way, is if you end up purchasing through them and you use their access to the brokerage, so they don't charge you a mortgage broker fee, and you can get access to different types of finance. Until then, it is completely free and you are under no obligation to use it. So if you're not a user, click the link below now and you can register completely free. Now, just to wrap up, am I saying cash flow is the single most important thing? No, actually, I don't believe it is. I think you need to focus on the right areas. It's people, when people talk about getting a discount, etc., for example, it's not that what I'm looking for. I'm looking for access to a great area that I can afford, that's going to be positive cash flow, but ultimately looking at the key factors to drive capital growth. And I'll do that in a separate video for you. But in the meantime, I don't want to lose it. Most businesses fail, by the way, because of poor cash flow, not their value, not that massive amounts of money wasn't coming in, purely their cash flow situation. So think of cash flow in the property as looking after and paying for the asset that is going to grow over the next 10 to 20 years, especially in the UK. So focus on the capital growth, but a key metric is, would I buy a cash flow negative property? The answer is no, not right now anyway, until my net wealth are in the tens of millions and I didn't need the cash flow to support me. So hopefully that's been valuable. If it has and you want to watch more videos on the channel, you're not already a subscriber, make sure to hit the subscribe and the notification bell, and it would help me out tremendously if you tap the like button on the way to your next video.